Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Screen Scene Guru, and today I'll be going into some comic book discussion and some movie news at the end, so be sure to stay tuned. Starting off, I've got this Star Trek comic, which I have done a review on before, but I do want to go over it again, just because I thought it was fascinating. This is the original crew. This is DC Comics. From April of '91. You get to see McCoy and Kirk having a fun game of three-dimensional chess. And then it's funny that Kirk actually mentions this is after the events of Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, his Katra was transferred over. And Kirk believes that part of that Katra is still with him. And that makes him more Vulcan and better at chess, which is pretty funny. We see that Captain Kirk is talking about relations with the Klingons has never been better, as one of their head scout ships leaves orbit over this planet they're overseeing. Very interesting stuff here. They talk about the Trojans, which is a new race we get introduced to. The higher up in command are arguing back and forth about whether or not they should use cloak while traveling at such a fast rate of speed with such a large ship. So that's very fascinating. We do get to see there's some camaraderie between the captains, both Kirk and this Klingon officer, because they want to try to eradicate the Trojans. Trojans are also using a space technology, a cloaking technology for their ships, and invading the sector that both the Klingons and the Federation want to occupy. So that's really interesting. We do get to see that there's a bit of betrayal on the ship. The Klingons find a saboteur, which leads them to figure out someone on their ship is also working with these Trojans. Xandri, this little alien guy. That's very fascinating. They convince Xandri to help them get onto the Trojans' ship. So that's very interesting. This star base, should I say. A bit larger than a ship, larger than the Enterprise even. This was cloaked, but they used a signal to uncloak it. So that was really fascinating. Then once their shuttle was on, when they started the communications with the Trojans about breaking up the land and distributing the money, they snuck on a crew from the Enterprise, Sulu, Uhura, and Scotty, which were able to sabotage their computers. That was really cool. And teleport them back. They wanted to go on there. It was an espionage mission to figure out what their technology was that got them to warp 15. So that was really interesting. But Scotty mentions that a lot of their mechanics are just thrown together, bits and pieces from other star systems, it looks like. So they were a conquering technological race, the Trojans, that were secretly taking over different parsecs of territory, and they weren't heard of. They weren't classified in the Federation database, so this was their first encounter with them. So that was really interesting as well. I love to see the classic not next generation, but Star Trek original crew with Kirk and Spock and all them. They went on to do comics after the movies, which was really cool. But the Klingons and the Enterprise went into battle. The Klingons cloaked while the Trojans prepared for battle. They had to decloak to shoot their weapons. Similar to the Klingons' technology, but totally different design, totally exotic. Talk about having to do it the Kirk's way, sending a signal to their ship about diplomatic peace talks. Really fascinating where we see Kirk put the Enterprise in front of the Trojans' fleet so that the Klingons can't attack them, And then they have a change in leadership down here, over here on the side, where another young Trojan takes out his own captain and assumes command. That was what Kirk was waiting for. And then they discuss, having peace relations, which is really cool. And that's the end of the comic. But fascinating that DC did a lot of these, and they even have an homage to original Trek and Next Generation, doing collaboration. That's really cool, fascinating stuff. Going on now to this big omnibus. I've already gotten most of the way through it, guys. This is for Fantastic Four. I've done a review on it before, showing off the first couple issues. I do want to show off real quick, because I've already shown off the ones where the Skrull appeared. Here's issue 3 with Miracle Man. It's a very interesting stuff here. We did get to find out that a magician was coming through town, and he wanted to meet the Fantastic Four. He wanted to challenge them, specifically Ben Grimm, the Thing, test his might against his magic. So that was really cool. We do get to see this guy does appear to be able to take on a punch from the Thing, which makes Reed question, good thing that he's on our side, he's not a villain. Until, of course, chapter 2, where they're going to the movies. They have a large monster out on set. And, of course, Miracle Man wants to use his magic, his influence, to bring the creature to life. So that's fascinating stuff there. I'll kind of skip through some of these, but we do get to see that the crew, Fantastic Four, this is the introduction of their space car, and Johnny burns the big costume, the big suit, burns it down. But I want to show off, right around here, they're all relaxing after the mission, and they do have to go after Sue, because Sue went invisible, and she went to track down Mr. Miracle, so they're waiting for a signal. And then she goes to see he kidnaps an atomic tank, which is very fascinating. They have those in the future, or in the past. So of course Sue lets out the signal, but that she's hypnotized by the Miracle Man, so that's also a concern. They end up finding out that he's using illusions and hypnotism, simple tricks to make it seem like magic. So that's very fascinating, but it's no use for the might of the Fantastic Four. So that's really cool. And then, of course, Johnny said he was leaving the team at the end of that issue, but then we come to find out in issue number 4, this was the introduction of Namor. So really cool stuff there, guys. A lot of people like him from the comics. He was in Wakanda Forever, so that was a very interesting film. After they, get back from fighting the monster, they talk about how, Sue and all them are looking for Johnny. And Johnny is actually the one that coincidentally finds Namor, which is very interesting. See him working on cars with his buddies, and then of course the Thing roids out on him. So that's really cool to see. And then of course they're reading comics in their time of the Submariner. So he was already a lore character hero in the universe, pre-established, and that leads them to discover the real identity of the Prince of the Seas. So that's really cool. Then Johnny ends up dropping him in the ocean, where he regains his powers, because because he had been on the land for quite some time, supposedly, and he went to his undersea kingdom, and everything was ravaged by nuclear bomb tests in the Atlantic Ocean. So his people had to flee somewhere else, and he was very upset, which is where he brings war to the surface land, revenge of the Submariner. So Johnny calls out the signal, warning them of what he's done, basically. We get to see him use his giant horn and call on sea creatures from the deep. That's really fascinating stuff. And then they load the thing with a bomb, AT&T bomb, or TNT, should I say. Weird to introduce that element, but yeah, they show off that they throw the bomb in there, it thwarts the creature, but Namor summons more with his horn until Sue takes the horn, and that leads to their struggle. He talks about when he last used the horn, he used it to clear the cave dwellers from their caves centuries past. So that's really cool to hear, the kind of lore, legend of Namor. And then, of course, Johnny creates like a riptide, or a tornado, if you will, to suck up Namor and cast him back out into the seas. So Johnny had a lot to do in the comics back in the day. Here's a little nice cutscene of Reed. But I do want to flip through here. Here's the first appearance of Dr. Doom, which was really good. Checking out all the Doom content. Getting ready for Avengers Doomsday. And you even got meta Johnny reading the Hulk comics. So that was really fun too to see. And then of course Doom casts a net over their building, Baxter Building, and absconds with it. I'm not sure how campy or goofy they'll play up Doom in the movies. I don't think they'll go so much the comic book route. I think the modern day comics maybe they'll do, but not so much the classic. He of course captures Sue Storm, and then gets the three of them to travel through time for Doom, try to capture Blackbeard's treasure, which I thought was very fascinating. He wants money. And this is actually a timeline where the Thing enjoys living out his life as a Thing. So that's very interesting. Showing off a little more piracy. That's all good stuff. They have to use their powers, of course, against pirates, which is fun. I'd like to see that in the movie, maybe. That'd be cool. See some time traveling in the next Fantastic Four. I did hear they're doing a sequel, because the first one did make enough money. So that's really cool. And of course they all come back with Doom's Time Door, which has been shown off in Loki, the Loki TV show, and also in Deadpool Wolverine. So that's very fascinating as well. Let me know what you guys think of all the comic book coverage, all the fascinating details. They end up loading the chest full of just old rusty chains instead of gold and treasure to fort Dr. Doom. And they end up blowing up his castle, even though that won't be the last we see of Dr. Doom. Reed does explain that he was a former colleague that was badly disfigured. Got issue number 10. That's a body swap issue where Dr. Doom and Reed switch bodies. And Alyssa actually discovers that the blind girlfriend of Ben discovers who they are. They switched bodies. I'll show you this little pin-up page. Very nice. Moving on, I want to show you guys some good ones. This one they're talking about publicity. Okay, here you go. The Cometh of Galactus. This was a really good issue. The Silver Surfer was flying through the cosmos, and even the Skrulls were worried that he was coming for them, because that meant Galactus, the devourer of worlds. We do see a big solar flare happen, which causes the public to be very alarmed. They think Johnny's doing it. But of course, we know this is the asteroid belt, or asteroid cloud, if you will, that comes with the precision of, or the proceeding of Galactus. You get to see Ben kind of jumping out of the Fantastic Four car. So that's really cool. You get to see the real first look of Silver Surfer, which is really fun too, because I've read some Silver Surfer comics, his origins, and now he's on Earth, meeting with the Fantastic Four. So that's really fun. The Watcher had a lot more to do with this than I thought. So that's really cool. What If fans, the Watcher shows up and helps out humanity. So yeah, we get to see the big sphere that Galactus arrives in after the Silver Surfer sends a signal into deep space. And we get the ship configuration and Galactus in green and red the first time, which is very fascinating that they went with that choice in color design. I think it was because it was cheap, or something intimidating they wanted to do. And in the next issue, issue number 49, guys, If This Be Doomsday. Cannot wait. Now, I do think they're going to use Doom as a villain for Avengers Doomsday, but this is the iconic cover, If This Be Doomsday, with Galactus. Just love to show that off. And we do get, this is the first official issue where they turn Galactus's armor into purple. So that's really interesting. They changed it in issue 49, 1962, I believe. 1966, they had the purple. It's very fascinating stuff. We're showing off his powers. Reed trying to help Ben after he's kind of disoriented by gas. We see Alisa help Norrin Rad, our Silver Surfer, regain consciousness after he's thrown from a rooftop building. And they mentioned that nothing can really hurt him. The mortals can't hurt him, even falling from a great distance. But it does take him some time to recover. And then we see Galactus's intent is to absorb our oceans and turn the water into straight energy, and then break down the matter of the surface world and turn the matter into energy as well. So he's just going to completely devour Earth. Really cool. I kind of wish they'd went into that in the movie. I heard they didn't really go over that as much because the storyline is they go after what's his name? Their son. I believe his name's like not Jonathan, but it's Nathan. Nathan Richards. So that's interesting that Galactus wants to go after their baby in the movie because he knows, he's an important figure to the grand scheme of things. Yeah, he releases his Punisher, which is kind of like a weird frog robot thing, so that he can absorb the world's energy after they destroy his pipes, destroy his things. We see Johnny travels to the center of the cosmos, to the lair of Galactus. So that's really fascinating as well. Johnny's doing his work while they all fight the Punisher, which is this weird frog robot mechanical thing from space. Sue is able to create a force field for them, and then we see Alisa is kind of teaching Norrin Rad the importance of humanity and their teachings. The Watcher is watching. And then issue number 50, we get to see Silver Surfer joins the fight. So that's really cool, against Galactus. So this is iconic. comic book lore. He freezes him in some type of crystalline structure, but of course Galactus breaks out. And they don't exactly go into the power scale, but Galactus is supposed to be stronger. He gave Norrin Rad, our Silver Surfer, the board, the cosmic surfboard, and gave him the ability to travel the cosmos. But of course we see the board empowers him with other abilities that Galactus doesn't even have. So it's similar to when Thanos gave Loki the staff when he invaded Earth, and they found out the staff had the Mind Stone in it. So that's really cool. Johnny returns to our dimension after retrieving the weapon that was supposed to destroy Galactus. They go into the battle with Silver Surfer and Galactus and the Watcher. That's really cool. And then Galactus pretty much disappears. He atomizes himself. Turns into the ether. Before he goes, he relinquishes, Silver Surfer. He's left on Earth, where Ben is kind of feeling sad about not being paid attention to. Going to this football team, doing stuff, and then eventually we see Johnny go to college, which is pretty fun. He's been into college, and they know he's a celebrity because he's Human Torch. Talks about a dimension at the end of time where he's trying to get back to with the Inhumans, where he's met a girl that he's in love with, he's trying to get back to. So that's really fascinating. They go into a bit more Johnny story. I'm on issue 51 right now. So that's really cool. I'll show you the cover. It's the Thing. So yeah, going through the omnibus. More than halfway through it. Gonna finish it up soon. Can't wait for that. But real quick, going into some movie news. Okay, we're back. And I've got a little bit of an update on movie news, guys. Movie news and television. Just a few big notes. Peacemaker Season 2 revealed that they are in an alternate universe where the Nazis won World War II. A lot of people have been speculating about this. The Planet X dimension that they've done on Crisis on Infinite Earths and other spin-offs. I thought it was interesting that James Gunn went with this bold move, given the political turmoil we're kind of in and the direction the country's going. But yeah, I just thought that was very fascinating. Leonardo DiCaprio is set to do another project with Scorsese, and this time he's teaming up with Jennifer Lawrence in What Happens at Night. So that's very fascinating. After he was just on the kelcebrothers podcast doing coverage for One Battle After Another, the NFL big time podcast for sports, and he was getting a whole group of audience to go out and see his movie. So that's very fascinating too, that Leonardo DiCaprio is coming out doing the rounds. So going on, we've got Greenland 2, Migration, dropped its first official trailer, which I wasn't a big fan of Greenland when it came out. It dropped during COVID, even though it was supposed to have a theatrical release. I believe it was Amazon that dropped it through Lionsgate. This one looks like it's going to be hitting theaters January of next year, 2026. So yeah, Greenland 2, Migration is happening, and they're moving from storm to storm. So that's very interesting. More tornadoes, more meteorites, all kinds of stuff. I also saw The Bride trailer dropped, which looked really fascinating. They are doing a Frankenstein movie in November, which I'm really excited for. Guillermo del Toro is going to have it in theaters for about 2 weeks, and then it's going to hit right around the end of November, December on Netflix. And The Bride is going to be, the sequel book, the Bride of Frankenstein. It looks like it's going to be rated R, musical number. We are going to be getting Christian Bale as the monster Frankenstein in it, so that's really cool. They got big casting. Season 9 of 911 on ABC premieres in space on October 9th. So this is really interesting. Angela Bassett is having a big blowout with this television premiere of hers. I'm really excited about it. I'm a big fan of 911. If you guys have watched the channel, you've seen my coverage of the show. It's only gotten more outlandish and ridiculous. Now people are trending, and they're talking about doing Fast and the Furious, going into space. But moving on from there, we do have an update with Highlander. Not only that they've got more cast joining, but that WWE superstar Drew McIntyre is going to be Highlander's brother, Henry Cavill's brother, in the film, which I thought was really interesting to hear. The cast is only getting bigger and better. There's a rumor that Sam Raimi is going to be coming back to do another project for Marvel. Now, whether that's another Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire, or that's another Doctor Strange horror film, or something else, totally unknown. A lot of people are speculating it might be a Midnight Suns, which that would be really cool. They kind of need to build up a team more for that, but that would be a fascinating one. Going on, we've got Trump executive orders were passed at the end of the month, turning NASA into a national intelligence and security agency. So recently, we're supposed to be getting full images of this three-eye atlas that is coming in through our solar system. It's passing by the sun. It's going to be closest to us by October. And we've been hoping to get clear HD footage of it, all these whistleblowers and people coming out in Congress and hearings, talking about the urgency of being aware of the situation. But given these executive orders are passing, and a lot of people are silenced about what is, declassified and what's classified, national security, that's really hindering the progression of this information getting out. So that's really fascinating stuff. A lot of people at NASA are curious why the president chose to make this decision and turn them into a spy agency when they're just, they were a civilian scientific research platform. They've always been paired with the government, but now he's using his government authority in a new way. So going on, we saw apparently the Angry Astronaut was talking about, Down to Earth was talking about it, Christian Harloff's channel, several people talking about how these whistleblowers are now going to be receiving protections. They're going to be getting some of their documents, their work history out, which is really good for Congress to do. They're going to subpoena some people coming in the next few weeks, making them show up to Congress and testify. But some people have speculated on the Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp Weaponized podcast that even subpoenaing them, they might not have the security clearance to say what they need to say. So some people are petitioning that a large group of individuals need to have their security clearance brought back so that they can testify at this hearing at a certain time and not be limited in their capacity of what they can disclose. So that's really interesting stuff. All coming out of the UAP community. News breaking every day, so be sure to stay tuned and stay updated on it. We did hear that From is going to get a season 4 coming out next year in 2026. I haven't watched From, but I've seen the clips and the ads, and it's looked really good. So I might check it out. I think the first couple seasons might be on Netflix or some other streaming service. I'll have to check it out. But that's all my movie notes for today, guys. That's my UAP update news, and that was all my comic book reviews. Be sure to like the video, comment down below what your thoughts are. You can share the video if you like. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at SceneScreenGuru. But until next time, guys, I'll say bye-bye. Have a good one. Alrighty.